The manga begins by showing how the world is. There are good people like our parents, and there are evil ones who like to hurt others just for fun. Yuruma Shun, a 12-year-old boy, is one of those kids who always gets bullied at school. Every day, a few boys led by Kyo-chan make his life miserable. So much so that normal humans wouldn't be able to ever endure it. And our main protagonist, sadly can't fight for himself at all, nor anyone ever tries to get in to help him. One of the members of that gang, Shigoku, learns a new trick and tries it on Yuruma. He crosses his arms around Yuruma's neck to choke him and make him lose his breath. Even though Yuruma tried very hard to fight, it was all in vain. From this submission, Yuruma gets so scared that he ends up soaking himself from fear. Seeing that, Shigoku, the trash, leaves him lying there and walks away laughing and mocking at the faces that he made. There are 5 pieces of trash that have become so vile and evil that there are actually no words to describe their inner demons. Koga age 12. He is the big kid on the gang, Ushiro the most annoying fly, who almost always comes with brutal combination for Yuruma. Madoka the loudmouth who laughs before doing anything else. Sin the weird-looking fellow with the most messed-up mind, and lastly, the reincarnation of devil, Shigoku. The most disgusting and unbearable trash. They simply don't care about Yuruma at all, and they all are here just to make his poor life so miserable that it is unexplainable. When Yuruma becomes a 5th grader, those people suddenly start bullying him for no reason. They even call him a test subject, treating him like an experiment to see how far they can go. After one of these incidents, Yuruma walks home by the river, crying quietly because of all the bullying. While walking, he notices a small kitten near the water. The kitten meows at him, and its little face makes him smile for the first time in a long while. He gently picks it up, feeling happy that something so small can make him forget his pain. When he reaches home, his parents ask why he is soaked, but Yuruma lies and says he was just playing near the river. Then he goes to his little brother's room. His brother asks the same question, and again Yuruma gives the same answer. He tells him that he found a kitten by the river and asks him to keep it a secret since they can't bring it home. His brother agrees and becomes excited. While they play with the kitten, his brother notices a red mark near Yuruma's neck. Yuruma lies again, saying he got it while wrestling at school but that he won in the end, so it doesn't matter. His brother smiles proudly, and seeing that, Yuruma hides his sadness and stays quiet. Later, Yuruma goes back to the river to meet the kitten again and bring it something to eat. But when he reaches there, the kitten is gone. He looks around worried, and then sees the group of bullies nearby. He tells him that they left the kitten in the mountain where wild animals like foxes and boars are living. If he doesn't find it soon, they say, it might be eaten. Yuruma panics and rushes toward the mountain, hoping to save it. The bullies laugh behind him, surprised at how easily he manipulated him. Some of them even ask why he started bullying Yuruma in the first place. Shigoku calmly says it's because he wants to kill someone without a reason. People often kill for love or self-defense, he explains, but he wants to see if he can make someone die just from despair, and Yuruma is his test subject. He wants to push Yuruma so far that he ends up ending his own life. That is the experiment. When Yuruma reaches the mountain, he finally finds the kitten, but it's already dead. He starts crying, heartbroken, and begins walking back while saying to himself that those people are really demons and that he just wants to see his family now. While trying to find his way home, he gets lost in the woods but soon sees a familiar face. It's his grandfather, holding a hunting gun. The old man helps Yuruma find the path back home. When they reach the house, Yuruma's mother sees them and gets angry, asking why he was with his grandfather since both brothers were not allowed to meet him. Yuruma apologizes and goes straight to his room. Remembering the kitten, he starts crying again. His little brother comes and asks what happened, and Yuruma tells him everything. Later that day, he tells his parents about the bullying at school. After hearing it all, his parents decide to change his school. 1 month passes since Yuruma stopped going to that school. Life starts to feel a little normal again. But one evening, while his mother and little brother go to pick up his father, the bullies appear again. They know the family's routine. They stop Yuruma on the road and make him talk to Kyo-chan on the phone. Kyo-chan tells him that since he ran away in the middle of the experiment, his parents will now face the pain instead. Just then, his parents' car appears on the road. Everything was normal until both Shigoku and Hiro spotted the car. Shigoku, the vile trash, easily pushes one of his gang members, Hiro, in front of the car, without a hint of fear, regret, or humanity. Once Hiro hits the ground, he starts bleeding from his head, and he perfectly lands in front of the fast-moving car, in which Yuruma's parents were in. As Yuruma's father sees the bleeding boy, he makes the dumbest mistakes, and to save the boy, he ends up crashing his own car, with his family inside. The car hits hard and lets out thick black smoke. They crash into the trees. The little devil's plan worked perfectly. They have bailed the family. Even the trash, Shigoku remarks on how this plan worked. And the dumbass and stupid piece of trash, Hiro laughs, understanding that he did something cool. Yuruma's little brother got hit hard as well, and when he looked at his parents, they were completely unconscious. Shigoku, the trash man, opens the car door, pulls out Yuruma's little brother, and starts hitting his face with a rock, and he does this for hours and hours. Yuruma's parents at this rate were unresponsive and needed urgent help, but those little vile demons then set the car on fire. That day, something so dark took place that Yuruma's world was going to be taken away, while actual demons like Shigoku moved forward with his plan. Yuruma loses both of his parents in that murder, which was disguised as an accident. His little brother survives but suffers some extremely heavy burns on his face and falls into a lifelong coma. His brother, whom he loved with everything, became a lying corpse, with no emotion or anything. Everything that he cherished and deserved was taken away from him so brutally that even the sky would cry at this fate. Seeing this alone, and young hopeless Yuruma starts to think of something dark, to maybe ease his pain and suffering. When his father's brother visits and asks if Yuruma wants to stay with them, Yuruma stops thinking to do something to himself and remembers his grandfather is alive. Although he was a scary person, Yuruma's thoughts were on things that normal people wouldn't really understand. He packs his things and goes to the mountains to see him. Obviously it was painful for him to do this, but he had seen his grandfather, who was an entirely different type of person. His grandfather lets him in and remarks that he already sometimes feels lonely and adds that he would enjoy his time here with him. Although it seemed like Yuruma was there for normal reasons, it was all a fake persona. At night, it was raining like never before and he enters his grandfather's old warehouse. He roams around aimlessly in search of something, and then he finds the hunting gun. He grabs it and it was extremely heavy, but Yuruma was filled with absolute rage, and he wanted to hunt the killers of his family. He also discovers a photo of his grandfather from his time in the Japanese Secret Service, a picture that is rarely on the internet or anywhere in the country. Yuruma's heart fills with determination. As he focuses on the details, his grandfather spots him from the back and he calls out to his name. Both grandfather and Yuruma begin fighting for a while, and there Yuruma lets his grandfather know that his family was not killed in an accident, rather they were murdered, and he shouts that using this rifle, he is going to kill the other student. Now the way he said this was enough to send shivers down the old man's spine. And he begins to remind him that they can go to the police together, but Yuruma looks towards his grandfather, and there was a dark and endless abyss of rage inside his eyes. He was beyond reasoning and just wanted to kill those trash. Now his grandfather repeats the things that young Yuruma was saying, and he begins to educate the young cub, and he reminds him that killing those trash, who murdered his family with a rifle, is just boring and has no thrill at all. After hearing this, Yuruma goes silent and he ends up seeing a bigger demon than all his bullies, Lucifer himself. His grandfather mocks that ending people with a bullet is actually mercy. His grandfather shares that during his time in the Secret Service, he was trained so hard to kill people in the most inhumane ways. He looks towards Yuruma and asks if he is interested in learning how to end people the way they should be ended. Hearing this, Yuruma knew that he was in right hands if he wanted revenge, and his grandfather promised to help him not by revenge through hate, but by teaching him methods that old Secret Service used that are now strictly banned from all nations in the world. 4 years later, Yuruma is ready. The kind boy who once cried by the river is gone, replaced by someone who has trained quietly for years, carrying one purpose: to make the people who destroyed his family face what they've done. As he bid his grandfather goodbye, Yuruma was no longer the kind kid that he was. The mud world changed him and ruined his innocence, and now only a husk of human remained, with a knowledge of the most brutal methods to torture and kill. The school building remained elegant no matter how much time passed. Azuma Chizuru loved this place deeply, especially because it valued students' rights over club activities. That morning, she sat daydreaming by the window until her friend greeted her cheerfully, breaking her thoughts and instantly ruining her mood. Her friend assumed it was because of some new boyfriend, which she quickly denied. Another friend joined in, teasing that Chizuru must have fallen in love, and soon they were all laughing. One of them mentioned rumors of a strange man spotted near the school around 2 a.m., warning everyone to be careful. During class, Chizuru's thoughts wandered back to her friends' teasing. They often asked why she didn't want a boyfriend, but she knew the reason: she had spent most of middle school buried in club activities. There was never time for romance, and she had never confessed to anyone before. Her train of thought broke when the teacher suddenly called out Yuruma's name. He had been dozing off and was asked to solve a question on the board. Unable to answer, he returned to his seat under the teacher's scolding. When class ended, her friends brought up the same topic again, asking if there was any boy Chizuru liked or, if she had to choose someone, who it would be. Half-jokingly, she mentioned Yuruma, saying he seemed interesting, but her friends disagreed, calling him weak. Their chatter was cut short by the sound of commotion nearby. Yuruma was being bullied by some classmates. Chizuru's temper flared and she yelled at them to stop. Everyone was surprised, especially because the bullies were led by Kuga, a scholarship student known for his good record but terrible behavior. Later, while Yuruma was quietly picking up a package he had dropped, Chizuru approached him and introduced herself. He immediately told her not to get involved, warning that if Kuga found out, she might become the next target. He thanked her for helping him earlier but made it clear that he could handle things on his own. Chizuru found his attitude frustrating. She couldn't understand why he wouldn't report what was happening to the teachers. Her friends later cautioned her to stay away from him, saying her unnecessary kindness would only make things worse. Still, she couldn't help but wonder if Yuruma was simply afraid of Kuga. She admitted to herself that while he was handsome, he did seem weak. After classes ended, Chizuru walked to the bus stop, but she missed her bus and decided to walk home instead. Along the way, she noticed Yuruma ahead of her but didn't want to make things awkward, so she stayed behind. A few minutes later, he disappeared from sight and suddenly, a strange man grabbed her, dragging her deep into the forest. The man tried to assault her, but before anything could happen, Yuruma appeared out of nowhere and kicked him to the ground. The attacker pulled out a knife, but Yuruma overpowered him easily. Trembling with fear, Chizuru could barely speak as Yuruma told her to leave. He promised to hand the man over to the police and gave her his jacket since her clothes were torn. He also told her not to mention what happened to anyone. As she walked home in silence, clutching his jacket tightly, Chizuru couldn't stop thinking about how wrong she had been to call him weak. She regretted not thanking him properly. Meanwhile, in the forest, Yuruma stood over the unconscious man, blood staining his hands. He stared at it quietly, a dark satisfaction flickering in his eyes, and whispered to his grandfather that he could finally kill people now, as if proving something he had always been meant to do. Grandfather told Shun that if those people had truly changed, then it was good to let them go. He said that humans have the power to reflect on their actions and the ability to improve themselves. But if they still hadn't changed, then it was better to kill them because they didn't deserve to be called human. Yuruma replied that he hoped they wouldn't change at all, so he could take his revenge. The next day at school, Azuma saw Yuruma and wanted to thank him for saving her the other day. She went up to him and began to thank him, but one of her friends interrupted them. Azuma then asked Yuruma if they could go somewhere quiet to talk. When they were alone, she gave him a small protective charm. Yuruma thanked her for it and joked that maybe it would stop him from turning into a noodle in class. Azuma wanted to say something more, but she hesitated and left. Later, Yuruma saw Senkuji Katsumi, his old elementary school classmate. They used to sit together back then, and that was when everything had started. Senkuji had been taken in by the bully gang, and he was the one who killed the cat. Yuruma thought to himself that he needed to see if Senkuji had changed or if he was still the same cruel person. But he didn't know how to find that out, since the only thing he knew was how to kill people. Days passed, and nothing strange happened. One day, while Yuruma was heading home, he heard someone call his name. It was Senkuji. Yuruma was surprised that he still remembered him. Senkuji invited Yuruma to hang out with him next Sunday. Yuruma didn't expect him to mean it, but Senkuji really showed up to spend time with him. Yuruma asked him why he wanted to hang out after everything that happened in the past. Senkuji said he just wanted to get along, especially since they now went to the same school. Yuruma thought to himself that in the past, they used to play together so innocently, and such a history couldn't just be forgotten. He warned himself not to fall for Senkuji's kindness. They took some photo booth pictures together. Senkuji gave Yuruma one strip of the photos and kept one for himself. After that, they went shopping and later to a cafe. Everyone in the cafe was sitting face to face, so the two sat side by side instead. As they sat there, Yuruma began to feel something strange, a warmth he hadn't felt since long ago. It was the feeling of friendship. Suddenly, Senkuji started to cry. Yuruma was confused and asked what was wrong. Senkuji said it was because he felt like Yuruma wasn't enjoying their friendship as much as he was. Then he added that maybe he had been hoping for something more, and he apologized for it. Yuruma wondered how Senkuji could feel like that. Did he really not regret what he had done in the past? Maybe he had truly changed. From that day on, Senkuji started talking to Yuruma more often. One time, Yuruma saw Senkuji and Kuga speaking together. Kuga was asking why Senkuji was spending so much time with Yuruma lately, but the conversation ended quickly. Later, Senkuji took Yuruma somewhere, saying he wanted to show him something. Yuruma asked him why he wanted to be friends after all the terrible things he had done to him. Senkuji looked shocked that Yuruma still remembered everything. Then he began to apologize, saying he had wanted to say sorry for a long time but had been too afraid. While they were talking, they suddenly heard a cat meowing nearby. Senkuji started looking for it. The cat was about to cross the road and nearly got hit by a car, but Senkuji ran out and risked his life to save it. Yuruma was shocked and thought maybe Senkuji really had changed. But before he could process anything, Azuma suddenly appeared and pushed Yuruma to the ground. That was when she saw Senkuji holding a rock in his hand. He had been about to kill Yuruma. When Yuruma and Azuma woke up, they were tied to chairs with rope. Senkuji stood before them and said he regretted not killing Yuruma back in elementary school. He said that at first, he thought the cat belonged to Shigoku, so he had decided to give up. But now that Yuruma had appeared in front of him again, he would never hand his prey over to anyone else. This time, he would finish what he started. Yuruma slowly opened his eyes, confused, and asked where he was and what had happened. For a moment, he thought Senjoki had deceived him, but then he saw Azuma there too. He began to wonder if maybe she was working together with Senjoki. But Azuma quickly apologized and explained that he had misunderstood. She told him that back then, when that man tried to harass her, Yuruma had appeared and saved her and Senjoki had seen everything that happened that day. Senjoki smirked and said he was surprised to see Yuruma saving Azuma like that. He was so cool. He said mockingly that anyone could fall for you. But I tied you up so tightly you can't even move. Yuruma muttered that all this was different from what his grandfather had taught him. Senjoki laughed and explained that this method came from the Edo period. Criminals were tied like that so they couldn't move, and mentioned that you can only free yourself if you break your fingers. To scare them even more, Senjoki raised a small button in his hand and said that if he pressed it, the whole place would blow up. Feeling satisfied, he said he was finally going to kill Yuruma. Azuma shouted at him to stop all this nonsense, but Senjoki punched her in the face and said he wouldn't stop until Yuruma was dead. To torture them further, he picked up a nail gun and shot it at Azuma. He sneered and said that when someone close to another person suffers or dies, the pain the other feels are the most satisfying thing to see. That's what he wanted to witness when that cat died. Azuma glared at him and said it was only because he had never truly cared for anything that he did such miserable things. Senjoki grew angry and used the nail gun on her again, saying it was because he knew all that he savors that feeling. Then he turned the gun on Yuruma, firing again and again. But Yuruma's expression didn't change at all. Everyone was shocked. Yuruma said he was used to this kind of torture and would remain the same until the day he died. He told Senjoki that he used tools because he was too weak to touch a dead body with his own hand. Furious, Senjoki grabbed Yuruma by the neck, trying to strangle him. In his rage, He didn't notice that Yuruma had already untied his hands. Yuruma pushed him back and snatched the switch from his hand. Senjoki was stunned. Yuruma smirked and said that he had tied him so poorly that it was easy to escape. Using the techniques he learned from his grandfather, Yuruma quickly made Senjoki lose consciousness. When Senjoki woke up, his hands were bound with chains. Yuruma stood before him and coldly congratulated him, saying that he would be the very first target of his revenge. The time for judgment has come. Senjoki looks around the room, feeling hot and uneasy. The room has only a mirror, a table, and a peeler. Seeing all this makes him panic as he wonders what is going to happen to him. Yuruma mentions that he once saw in a movie that if a room is covered with sheets, it becomes easier to clean afterward. He is holding the same model of air gun that Senjoki once used on him. Yuruma says that he wonders how much it would hurt if he destroys Senjoki's eyeball. Terrified, Senjoki screams and tries to explain himself. He says he has no choice, that he is only a puppet of Kyuchan and must follow his orders. He begs for mercy and pleads to be handed over to the police, promising to testify about everything that has happened. Yuruma laughs at his reaction and asks why he is sweating so much. Senjoki replies that it is because the room is hot, but then he notices that Yuruma is completely covered. Yuruma calmly explains that it is because he has peeled off Senjoki's skin, which is why he feels so hot. He adds that during the Great War, soldiers went through survival training to endure torture without breaking easily. When Senjoki touches his own body, he realizes in horror that Yuruma is telling the truth. The pain makes him scream and beg for forgiveness, but Yuruma raises the air gun and aims it at his chest. Senjoki is filled with fear, wondering how he can survive what is about to happen. Yuruma pulls the trigger and shoots him. Under the shock and pain, Senjoki starts confessing everything. He says it is Yuruma's fault for rejecting him back then, and that is why he did all those terrible things. He admits that he felt happy when Yuruma's parents died and when his brother was close to death, claiming that seeing Yuruma suffer gave him joy. Hearing this, Yuruma fires again, and the shot kills Senjoki instantly. Afterward, Yuruma goes to Azuma and tells her to either stay silent about everything or die there. When night comes, he returns home and tells his grandfather that he has done it. His grandfather calmly replies that it is fine and that he will take care of the cleaning. Days pass and Senjoki never returns home. Teachers at school begin asking students if anyone knows anything about his disappearance. Meanwhile, Yuruma visits his brother in the hospital. Sitting beside his bed, he quietly tells him that many days have already passed and asks him to hold on a little longer. Only 4 of them remain as he kills one of them, and then he wishes for his brother to wake up soon. At the same time, Police Patrol Officer Uda Asako searches for her strange partner, Anze. She feels frustrated, thinking that her hopes for promotion are already over because she has been paired with such an odd person and even recommended to headquarters with him. After searching everywhere, she finally finds Anze sitting in a room, drinking caffeine. She scolds him for disappearing and tells him that another student has gone missing. Senjoki. Anze opens his notebook, checks the details and notes that Senjoki is Yuruma's classmate. Asako begins to suspect that Anze might know something. Yuruma sits in his room and crosses out Senjoki's picture. He thinks about how heartless they are and promises himself he will be harsher with them. He plans his next target, Ushiro Yuga. At a crowded karaoke, people are loud and careless. One man keeps to a private corner with a woman, and others are busy with their own business. A girl who often stays close to Ushiro feeds him and keeps him company. Suddenly Ushiro's phone rings with a request from a client. He asks the group who is free. Most of them are busy, and only one girl says she will go. A little later, another girl named Hana walks up to Ushiro. She tells him that she wants to stop doing this work because she has finally saved enough money for her university fees. Ushiro tells her to meet him outside. When Hana steps out and asks why he called her there, his tone changes. He gets close to her, speaking in a way that makes her uncomfortable. His behavior turns threatening as he mocks her for wanting to quit. He warns her that she cannot just walk away after earning money through the clients he arranged for her. He tells her that she will continue to go where he sends her and come when he calls. Then, pretending to soften, Ushiro suddenly changes his tone. He apologizes, saying he just got sad at the thought of her leaving and that he still needs her. He acts as if he's worried about losing her. Hana, still shaken, apologizes too. He tells her gently that if anyone else tries to leave, she should stop them. Just then, Ushiro's phone rings again. Thinking it's another client, he checks it, but the message is actually from Kyuchan. Meanwhile, Yuruma sits in his dark room, gathering information about Ushiro. He studies his patterns, contacts, and routines, realizing that this time, he can get close to him without wasting time. But he still wonders how to corner someone like Ushiro when he has no connection. The doorbell rings. Yuruma opens the door and finds two detectives standing there. He immediately recognizes one of them, Detective Anze, the same man who investigated his case 4 years ago. Anze looks around, noticing how Yuruma's surroundings seem different now. They introduce themselves and say they have some questions related to the case. When Yuruma asks what it's about, Anze explains that it's connected to Senjoki's disappearance. He says that some students mention Yuruma and Senjoki used to talk often. Yuruma replies that they were classmates, so of course they spoke sometimes. Anze then asks why he would talk to someone who once bullied him. Yuruma's tone turns sharp. He says he never told anyone he was being bullied. Anze backs off with a faint smile, saying it's fine. His partner looks confused and surprised by the tension in the room. Before leaving, Anze asks one last question, that if it turned out that his parents' deaths weren't an accident and someone had caused it, then what would he do? Yuruma answers calmly that he would kill that person. Both detectives are stunned by his cold, serious expression. Anze senses something strange in Yuruma's eyes, a quiet darkness that wasn't there before. At that moment, Yuruma's grandfather appears and tells the detectives that it's enough. He says they should leave now, as Yuruma has already moved on from that incident. The detectives thank him and leave. Later, under the bridge, the remaining members of the bully group gather again. Shigoku asks how Senjoki could disappear like that. They wonder if he's alive but hiding, unable to reach them, or truly dead. Kyuchan suggests that since Senjoki often hung out with Yuruma, maybe Yuruma has something to do with it. Shigoku laughs, saying that's impossible, that he must be dead. As he walks away, he silently tells himself that he will never lose to him, that he is flawless. Days pass. One afternoon, a motorcycle stops on the street. Ushiro is riding it, and a girl sits behind him. His friends look over and ask who she is. The girl takes off her helmet. It's Azuma. Once again, she finds herself surrounded by danger, caught in the poisonous circle she thought she had escaped. Yuruma goes to Ushiro's school to see what kind of man he has become and how he runs his secret business. He knows the police are alert, but he still asks students about him. Most of them say Ushiro used to be harsh, but now he acts calm and even friendly. One girl explains that after his girlfriend, Sakuraba, disappeared a few months ago, a girl he had dated since middle school, he stopped coming to school regularly. People say maybe she ran away or worse, but no one knows the truth. Yuruma thinks that must be the reason Ushiro fell back into his dark ways, and that Sakuraba might be the key to everything. That night, Azuma goes to a bar to help her friend Miki with a part-time job. The place feels unsettling, the music is strange, the lights are dim, and the crowd gives her a bad feeling. A man approaches Azuma, trying to make small talk, but his behavior makes her uncomfortable. Miki steps in and warns her to stay away from him, explaining that the man, Kawashima, is known to cause trouble. Azuma, confused, asks what kind of place this really is. Miki hesitates, then admits that the bar is involved in shady work arranging girls for customers. Some girls even see it as a way to earn money for their future, but it's dangerous. She adds that Ushiro is the one many girls try to impress, since making him happy keeps them safe. She hands Azuma a costume and tells her just to wear it and not worry about anything else. When Azuma changes into the outfit, she feels strange, a mix of beauty and guilt. She tells herself to calm down and stay focused, thinking she should quit this job soon. But she worries about Miki, who seems deeply attached to Ushiro and doesn't want to leave. Suddenly, a drunk man barges in and grabs Azuma roughly. She struggles, shouting for help. Before things get worse, Ushiro appears and knocks the man away. He scolds him sharply and orders him to leave. The man apologizes and runs off. Ushiro then looks at Azuma and says she looks great in the outfit. For a brief moment, Azuma wonders if Ushiro might actually be a kind person beneath it all. Later, Azuma returns to Miki. Miki asks if she saw Ushiro, but Azuma shakes her head and says she didn't. One of Ushiro's friends then walks over and says Ushiro left a while ago and no one knows where he went. He often disappears without telling anyone. Later, Ushiro goes to an old, quiet apartment. When he opens a door, there was Sakuraba inside it. Sakuraba is bound and clearly in distress. Her eyes go wide when she sees him. She starts shouting and lashes out in fear. Ushiro answers in a cold, controlled way, insisting she belongs to the system he runs and that leaving is not simple. The scene is charged with control and fear rather than affection. Whatever is happening behind that door, Azuma sees enough to know it is terrible. Ushiro notices a shadow and turns. Realizing she has been seen, Azuma quickly turns and runs away. Her mind is filled with fear and confusion. She keeps thinking if Ushiro saw her or not, and if she should go to the police. But even if she goes, what will she tell them? She feels completely helpless. Then Yuruma comes to her mind as the only person who might know what to do. The next day Azuma returns to the bar. She tells one of the staff plainly that she wants to quit. The man is surprised and tells her she is leaving too soon, since she has only just started. Azuma says she cannot work in a place like that and that it hurts her to see Miki trapped. The man replies that if she wants out she must speak to Ushiro directly. At that moment Ushiro appears. He tells the others to leave them alone, and soon it's just the two of them. Ushiro takes something out of his pocket, a photograph. It is the picture of Sakuraba, the girl who disappeared months ago. He smiles faintly and tells Azuma that what she saw the other night was just a kind of play, nothing real. Azuma's heart skips a beat. She tries to hide her fear by forcing a weak smile and nodding, pretending to believe him. She even lets out a small nervous laugh, saying that everyone has different tastes, but her voice shakes slightly. Suddenly Ushiro takes a knife from his pocket. Seeing that knife, Azuma's eyes widen in terror. He moves quickly, pushing her to the floor and covering her mouth so she can't scream. His expression changes completely, filled with coldness. He leans close and whispers harshly that now that she has seen everything, she can't be allowed to live. Meanwhile, Yuruma is busy preparing his next move. He brings several arrangements to his grandfather, asking him to help make everything ready. His grandfather looks at him and understands what this means. Yuruma is ready to act. The old man nods slowly and asks if Yuruma is certain about what he's going to do. Yuruma says he is, but admits there's still one thing missing, one piece that he hasn't yet obtained. Once he finds that piece, he believes everything will end and Ushiro will finally pay for what he has done. At the same time, back at the bar, the situation grows more dangerous. Ushiro still has Azuma pinned to the ground, his knife pressed close to her neck. His eyes are filled with cruelty and Azuma's body shakes with fear. Her mind goes blank as she realizes this might be her last moment. But just as things reach the point of no return, the door suddenly opens with a loud creak. A bar manager steps in, calling Azuma's name, saying that a client is asking for her. He stops mid-sentence, confused by what he sees. Azuma is on the floor, and Ushiro is hovering over her. The manager blinks awkwardly and asks if he came at a bad time. Ushiro instantly switches his expression, putting on a fake smile and says everything is fine. He even jokes that it's Azuma's first job and that they should celebrate it later. Azuma feels her chest tighten, realizing that if the manager had come even a minute later, she might have been dead. Her thoughts blur together as she forces herself to stand up. Ushiro looks at her, his voice calm but filled with warning. He tells her that once she finishes with the client, she must come back to him so he can decide what to do next. His tone is quiet, but the meaning is clear that she cannot escape. Azuma nods slightly, pretending to agree, even though fear is tearing her apart inside. She quickly leaves the bar, her hands shaking as she steps out into the night air. Azuma heads toward the hotel where the client is waiting. As she walks, she keeps thinking about running away. Maybe she could disappear before anyone notices. But what if this client is a kind person? Maybe he is someone gentle, someone who will treat her like a human being, not like a product. The thought comforts her for a moment and she imagines someone waiting with flowers and a smile. But she quickly shakes her head, scolding herself for dreaming at a time like this. She takes a deep breath and keeps walking, her heart pounding harder the closer she gets to the hotel. When she finally arrives, she hesitates outside the door for a moment. Her hands tremble slightly as she reaches for the handle. She tells herself to stay calm, to just get through this and find a way out later. Slowly, she pushes the door open. Her eyes adjust, and then she freezes completely. Standing in front of her, waiting patiently, is Yuruma. He looks at her with a calm but serious expression and tells her she made him wait. Azuma can't move or speak. Yuruma stands in front of Azuma and tells her she has kept him waiting for a long time. She freezes in shock, unable to believe he is here. Her head fills with questions. This place is an illegal sex service, and she cannot understand why Yuruma would come here. The thought that he might be involved in this business makes her heart sink. Yuruma senses her confusion and quickly tries to calm her. He shows her the same suspicious photograph he revealed earlier, explaining that this picture is the reason he made the reservation. He wants to see the place for himself and find out what is really happening. Azuma feels tense and uneasy, thinking she has been chosen for her first job, but Yuruma makes it clear that this is not the case. He begins asking her about Ushiro. Azuma answers that Ushiro is with Sakurababa, the missing girl she saw before. Hearing the name brings a dark flashback to Yuruma's mind. He remembers everything Ushiro did to him in the past, the pain, the humiliation, and the times when Ushiro sexually harassed him. The memories fill him with anger and harden his resolve even more. Yuruma tells Azuma to stay where she is. The only reason he has called her here is to warn her to stay away from Ushiro for now. He wants to keep her safe while he prepares for what comes next. Azuma listens, but her mind is in conflict. She feels restless and scared, yet she cannot stop thinking about confronting Ushiro herself. Then, without thinking, she confesses her feelings. She admits that she likes Yuruma. She says she doesn't know why, but she does, and she feels hurt that he keeps pushing her away. Yuruma gives her a small, quiet smile. He thanks her for being honest, but the softness in his expression soon disappears. His eyes darken as he slips back into the cold focus that drives him. Revenge fills his mind completely. 4 people are still left on his list, and he is determined to make them pay. Ushiro, he decides, is his next target. Azuma refuses to stay out of it. She tells him she wants to help. Yuruma has saved her many times and she feels it is her turn to return the favor. She pleads for him to let her fight alongside him. Yuruma shakes his head. He insists that he will do everything alone. He doesn't need anyone's help. Neither of them knows that their entire conversation is being overheard. Ushiro has already placed a small listening device inside Azuma's bag earlier at the bar. Every word they speak reaches him. As Yuruma swears vengeance and Azuma confesses her love, Ushiro listens quietly. He hears everything. While listening, Ushiro smiles faintly to himself. He has suspected from the beginning that Yuruma is the one responsible for everything that has been happening. Now, through the bug, his suspicion becomes the truth. Each word from Yuruma confirms what he already believed. Ushiro now knows for certain that Yuruma is behind it all. The conversation gives him both proof and a dangerous satisfaction. He listens until the end, whispering to himself that he knew it all along. Yuruma leaves the hotel after telling Azuma everything. He walks away with a firm resolve. Meanwhile, Ushiro gathers his people in a room and begins giving orders. He warns them that their enemy is coming and that everyone must stay alert. Ushiro instructs the guards to keep an eye on anyone who tries to enter the bar. He tells everyone to take their assigned positions and stay ready. Ushiro tells them that Gano will be the one to kidnap Azuma. Ushiro thinks to himself that Yuruma has no idea where he is going or what is about to happen. He feels proud that Yuruma has no idea he was been bugged. He feels confident that the plan is working in his favor. As Ushiro speaks, he reflects on recent events. He is surprised that Yuruma even killed Senkuji and that Koga guessed correctly about Yuruma being behind everything and that him being friend with Azuma is also correct. These confirmations make him feel more in control. He waits eagerly for Yuruma to make a move, anticipating the moment he can see Yuruma in a difficult position, perhaps even crying. Outside the bar, two of Ushiro's men talk quietly about Gano. They describe him as a dangerous man, a demon since elementary school who has been part of fights, assaults, and violent acts. One recalls seeing Gano in action, that how he gets angry quickly and fights brutally. At the other location, Gano is in the middle of a violent fight. One of the boys he is fighting is on the floor while he is trying to sexually assault a girl, claiming that he is being gentle with the girls. But when the girl calls him a bastard, he reacts violently. Anger flashes in his eyes, and he punches her face hard. While he was in the middle of the fight, Gano's phone rings. He answers and thanks Ushiro for trusting him and for his past services. Gano also asks Ushiro to teach him more ways in the future. Afterwards, Ushiro then tells him what he needs today is to get Azuma. Hearing this, Gano feels a thrill of happiness. He realizes he has full permission from Ushiro to handle her as he sees fit. At the hotel, Azuma is left alone after Yuruma leaves. He had warned her not to open the door for anyone. She waits quietly, trying to obey, her heart racing with fear. Suddenly, there is a knock at the door. A voice outside claims to be a housekeeper. Azuma is surprised because housekeepers do not usually come at this hour. Her hands tremble as she hesitates, unsure of what to do. Before she can react, the lock moves from the outside. The door opens and Gano steps in, presenting himself as the gentle housekeeper.